We are very excited to welcome to the show Juno Award-winning recording artist, author, and composer, everything else, Jann Arden. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on 90's Now.
My pleasure. 90's Now.
Yeah.
90's Now. Here we are.
It sounds perfect for what you've just released.
Sure does.
I wanted to ask you because I know that you mentioned that the 90's kind of started for you with Sinead O'Connor in '89 when she released Nothing Compares to You. But I wanted to ask you, like, how would you describe the 90's and why do you think it holds such a special place in so many people's hearts?
For some, whatever reason, Canadian women just were on this trajectory to fabulousness. Yes, Sinead O'Connor started something. I'm not sure what that shift was, but it was very male dominated. And of course, then in Canada, we had Sarah McLachlan, Alanis Morissette, Shania Twain, Avril Lavigne. There were so many amazing women that were paving the way for people like me. But there was just so much great music. The grunge scene was happening along the west coast of America, and that was just a new kind of music we'd never even really heard before. It was kind of rock and roll, but it was also very poppy, and it was a very emotional and dark and teen angst, and it sort of hit on all that stuff. And then a plethora of female singer-songwriters just in droves. I mean, when you think about what Sarah McLachlan did with Lilith Fair in the 90's, it was a really magical, very exciting time for music. A lot of different genres. Music videos were still really at a heightened, very just a very purposeful pace. Like you just saw them everywhere. It's not the same now. Music videos have kind of a little bit gone to the wayside, but when you actually had music video channels, it made the 90's super exciting and special.
It's really neat to see there are video channels, like video channels that are dedicated to showing videos versus like the Much Musics or the MTVs. So it's neat to go onto those channels and see the effort that was put into making videos as a requirement at that time. Certainly from the 80's, it ended up changing how we consumed our music, making watching it as important as hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that it seems with your new album that, in my estimation anyways, that it's your influences. Because I think a lot of the album are your contemporaries, songs that were sort of very popular as you were becoming very popular. And yet there's a couple of nuggets that, in my mind, in my imagination, I think were influences to you, like The Boxer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, The Boxer obviously is the 70's, Simon and Garfunkel, and Boys of Summer is the 80's. But I just said to the record company, look, there's going to be two little stragglers here, but I'm not going to let go of them. They're coming with me. Russ and I recorded a lot of songs before we kind of landed onto the 90's stuff, which is great. Like, I'm glad that we concentrated on that decade. But, for 6, 8, 10 months, we were doing Don't Fear the Reaper and Call Me by Blondie and some Mike Oldfield. We had done Glenn Campbell's Wichita Lineman. And they're all in the can. Like, I've still got all these songs recorded. And then, the label really did want me to kind of shift over, which I was fine with because there's so much great music. And from a marketing perspective and things like that. But it was hard going through hundreds and hundreds of songs. Obviously, the songs that I've chosen are stuff that were challenging to sing for me and that I kind of had a personal attachment to. Like, there's little stories to everything. But yeah, all these people were out on the road when I was. All this stuff was happening when Insensitive and Good Mother and all those things were happening for me. I was traveling all over the world. So it was just a great time. I mean, most of these people I've never met in my life, but I admired them like everybody else from afar. And the record has so many different kinds of music on it. Mixtape is exactly that. It's a love letter. When you sat down and made mixtapes for people that you had crushes on, or your friends, or sharing, music, you got to be a DJ, and you're like, here's a mixtape of all the cool stuff. And that's what we did in school. We gave each other mixtapes.
Truth.
Actually, now that you're talking about that, Jan, I wanted to ask you, like, how intentional were you with sequencing the album because you're releasing it on a cassette and also on CD and or vinyl? Like I wanted to know how you made that
I
decision.
didn't sequence it.
Oh no?
No, I've never sequenced my records. I'm terrible at it. Have no desire to even attempt it. So Jeffrey Remedios, who's the president of Universal, we handed it to him, and he's like, "God, I don't want to do it." And but he ended up doing it because yeah, there is that cut mark, right, where five go on this side, then six go on the other side. In an LP, you're literally dealing with time. There's only so much time on a tactile product like a cassette or an LP vinyl. So you have to time it out. I don't know how they do it. That's a super excellent question. And I don't know what the right solution is, but hopefully, I haven't sat down and listened to the sequence myself, like in order. And I need to do that. I've just been flinging around. And usually, once I finish recording, I don't listen to the music that much. I kind of leave it for a year or two. But I definitely need to listen to the sequence to see if it makes any sense whatsoever.
It really does.
Okay, good.
From my perspective, I listened to it obviously ahead of our chat. And I listened to it while I was driving, so really blindly because I need my glasses to read. So I listened to it in the car and just not knowing the track listing and loved, going, that. I wonder if we hear from songwriters, artists in general, having a reaction to things that they wish that they had done. And for a songwriter, I wonder if any of these songs are songs that you wish that you had written.
Oh, I wish I would have written them all. It'd be silly to not think that I wouldn't have wanted a hand in all of those songs. Boys of Summer, I'll never forget seeing that video for the first time. I think it was like 1984. And videos were just kind of going into the stratospheric place in our culture. And it was a black and white video. And I think Helena Christensen was the model. That was the girl.
Oh, yeah.
In the video, and there was a kid on a snare drum hitting this drum, and it was very dark. And I love dark music. I love minor chords, and I love atmospheric stuff. And even though it was like this clipping along pace, the song was just haunting. And what's sadder than driving by somebody's house or lamenting a summer love or wanting to go back to that time and realizing that things are over? I think everybody has felt that way at some point in their life. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you too. You mentioned, the artists that you've covered, and do you know any of them, Jan? And if you do, are there any others that you from the album that you would actually like to collaborate with?
I don't know any of them. I met Don Henley once, oddly enough, with Bryan Adams. Bryan was in a restaurant, and I noticed him, and I said hi, and he was sitting there. Oh, Don. I'm like, oh, hi. I mean, I opened some shows for Chris Isaak, but never really met him. Like he was just there. I was in Europe. I think we were in France, and we were all over Europe. And Wicked Game was at the height of its madness. I remember him coming out and doing his encore in a 50-pound mirrored suit. So it was a suit and it was mirrored. And when the light struck it, the whole audience got hit with these thousands of shards of little reflections off of his suit. It was really unbelievable. And we were playing in these massive tents. That's what they did, like in a lot of these European places. It was these, giant Cirque du Soleil style tents.
Wow.
But I just remember standing every night, watching Chris sing Wicked Game. And the place went bananas. And he was very handsome. And it was a really special song, and probably one of the best pop vocals by a man, I think, in decades. It still stands up. Like, it's an incredible song.
He's got such a longing to his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm happy that you pointed that one out, because I think from a fan perspective, it's risky to do covers of songs that are really well known, almost like it's an extra pressure to get it exactly right or to put your stamp on it. And, pay compliments to the original, and you have done it! Exclamation point. And with Wicked Game, right out of the gate, it was like a chill. And you
Good.
and I'm happy that you also used the word haunting in our chat, because that's how it struck me, like making it even more haunting than the original. It's really, you've done such a wonderful job with that one,
Well,
especially.
that's Russell Broom, my producer. He's a longtime friend of mine, my guitar player. We worked together for years. We're heading into 30 years of knowing each other, and but yeah, he just put these soundscapes together, and we took painstaking amounts of time to make sure the key and the tempos were exactly where I wanted them to be. And that song took us a long, long time because of the octave jumps. So there's a very low scoop, and it's got to be low enough. It's got to be comfortable that I can hit the notes and comfortably hang on to them and have some edge to them. And then when you do the octave jump, and then of course when you get to the chorus and the big, high longing I note.
Yeah.
And so it's just fooling around with it. Like a lot of things just didn't work. That it was too low, and then the low wasn't low enough because I wasn't scooping and I wasn't liking where the high note was ending up. So I don't know if people ever think about that kind of stuff when they're listening to music. I always do.
I do.
I'll listen to stuff and I'm like, they sang that in the wrong key for themselves. Like I'll
Yeah.
literally think that in the car.
Yeah.
I wish they would have sung that a half step down. So, and I didn't want to seem like I was screaming. But once you do those little technical things, the rest of it is very, very easy. I didn't kill myself. I sang each song 3 or 4 times, maybe. That was it. And then Russell does a comp and I'm done. So I sing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I just don't like hitting it over the head and beating it up. It just doesn't feel sincere.
Hmm.
So it was fun to sing. I've been singing for a long, long, long time, and I know my voice very well. And it's very different and very fun for me to sing other people's music because I sing my stuff very differently. Like what I
Sure.
write, I sing differently.
Jen,
Do you
obviously your career went kaboom in the 90s, like when it really for everybody to know who you are and what was going on. Were you able to enjoy any of the ride at that time because you were like in such demand everywhere?
I think so. I was just talking to someone this morning about it. It's kind of a blur. You get pulled in a lot of different directions. And of course, we're all kind of wild and drinking wine and beer and being on the bus and just zinging all over the place. The schedule was unbelievable. And, there was some days in the United States on Insensitive in particular, we would do between 10 and 15 radio visits in a day. They would drag us around and we would sing Insensitive like 10, 11, 12 times in ridiculous settings.
the boardroom?
Yeah, well, I wish it was a boardroom. It was like sometimes it was hot tubs or grocery stores or
Oh,
bowling
wow.
alleys. Morning shows can have this, they have a touch of lunacy to them
Yeah.
because it's the morning and it's wacky DJs and they all have names like here's Sammy Slither, good morning. You're like, what? And the guy's name is actually like Bob Smith.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I Letterman and Leno and the morning shows and the Today Show and Kathy and Regis, like all that stuff. I was like, did I even do that? And but I guess it did happen. And I'm glad that I survived it all. And it's really incredible to look back at those times. I still work with the same people. A lot of those guys are still in the band with me, and we all talk about how fun it was and how nutty it was. Nothing bad happened. It wasn't tragic. Nobody got hurt. We just had fun. And everyone's got families. They don't even drink a beer. Everyone just does the show and goes to bed now. So it's pretty funny.
That's funny. Um, so knowing that you've got a bunch of songs in the can, is it safe to say there will be a mixtape too? I mean, this one's still not even.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. I
No.
think these can definitely be used for B-sides or bonus tracks.
Oh, nice.
There's probably 6 or 7 of them. And I that's the same thing I said to the label, but I don't think I would do another one at this point. I mean, I'll definitely cover more songs in my life. There's lots of things I'd like to do if I can live that long. But I think these will just sort of sit idly by, and there might be opportunities for bonus tracks even on this record or something special as far as streaming. I mean, the streamers are always looking for something that is solely indigenous to them, whether it's Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, Pandora. They're always looking for an angle. So it's nice to have those things recorded and done and kind
Yeah.
of waiting. So it was hard to let go of some of them. Don't Fear the Reaper is the craziest version of that song you'd ever want to hear in your life. It's so cool.
Oh, nice.
But it didn't make it. It
No,
didn't make it.
we'll wait for the B-side then.
Yes.
Jan, we know you're heading out on tour right across the country, which is amazing. I did want to ask you though, and obviously you don't need to be on any kind of group tour, but if you were on like a 90s reunion tour, what other artists would you love to be out on the road with you?
What a hard question that is. I mean, it would be really great to go out with New Kids on the Block, Seal.
Ooh.
My road manager's laughing at that. Desiree would be super fun.
Ooh.
And, uh, I'd be crazy to not say Celine Dion, wouldn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
I mean,
start.
I'd go see that show.
I'd see that show too.
Or,
Yeah.
I don't know, Boys to Men.
Ooh.
I mean, that'd be kind of nutty. That seems like a really crazy drug-induced lineup to me, and I'm all over it.
Nice. um, how would you describe the feeling of releasing new music? Like, do you still get nervous about that? The process of it,
Oh,
having spent so much time with it that now the
yeah,
whole world's going
no,
to get it?
no, I
Oh,
don't get
good.
nervous. I don't. I
That's
don't.
great.
I think I was when I was younger. I don't now. You get older, it's just like, I don't doubt myself. I don't doubt decisions that I make, and I so admire Russell. Like I said, I can't say enough about my producer and his talent and the people that I work with, the fun that we have. And I really, really like the record. And it's a very selfish undertaking for me. Anything creative, like the acting stuff I've done, writing books, podcasting, whatever it is that I've tried to do, over the years, I just really have fun. I have fun with my friends. I have fun doing things. And I'm not the greatest at anything that I try. But, music's no different. I'm very confident about it. And I like it, and it's a very selfish undertaking. I don't do it for other people, and I don't want that to ever sound mean spirited or uncaring or anything like that. It's a very selfish undertaking. I do it, I write things that I like, and I sing things that I like. And if people like it, that's really a bonus. But I don't do it for anybody but myself. And I hope that comes across the way that I hope. Like, I don't want to sound like an a-hole.
Well, you end up sounding like exactly as you should because you're doing it with pure intentions.
Yeah, I don't do it for anybody but myself.
That's great. Good for
Jan,
you.
Jan, we know we're almost out of time with you. I did want to ask, I know you have the tour coming up. We know you have the tour coming up. And then I know you're going on a writing retreat because I do listen to your podcast every week. And so what else do you have for the coming up this year and anything exciting you want your fans to know
Well,
about?
that's going to be interesting. I was asked by Eliza Reid, the former president, first lady of the president of Iceland, if
Oh,
I would, teach a couple of like writer seminars in Iceland in April. So I'm going over there for the first time in my life. Here's someone who barely finished high school, and I'm going to be teaching a couple of writing classes, which is really fun.
wow.
And so I'm doing that in April, but I'm just finishing up a second novel now. So that's my priority list. I think I can hand it in the next like 3 or 4 weeks if I just sit down and stop redoing things and just put the end on it and send it to my editor. So I'm really hoping to get that done. And it's always a crapshoot. They might look at it and go, no, sorry, this is lunacy. You'll have to self-publish or something. I don't know. And but then we've got the tour in the spring, so we'll start getting ready for that. And and some summer stuff, and then I'm out again for Christmas stuff in Eastern Canada. So we'll start that in November, December, and I'm not even looking at next year, but we like having stuff on the calendar, and the podcast, of course, is every week with Caitlin Green and Sarah Burke, and I just love those women very much. They've got such a different perspective on things than I do. I'm always the crone in the trees going, well, you just wait till you're 55, and it's pretty funny. They're just like, one of them's dating, one of them's married with a little 2-year-old, and they're just living completely different lives than me and of each other. So we have a good time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Caitlin actually used to be a former colleague of ours at Bell Media. So yeah, and we
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
and I actually watched your interview with Jax because Jax is a friend of mine. So that was a great interview.
Oh, I'm telling you. And then the phone call, the phone call to the woman in, I think it was Newfoundland, that we called somebody. I'm like, what are we doing? Anyway, it's very funny.
That's amazing. Well, Jann, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate your time and congratulations on the album.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it too. Look after yourselves, and I'm sure I'll see you out there.
Yeah, you will.
Sounds good.